In a soccer game, like, I could have scored a goal if I had one step faster, or, I could have blocked a goal. Is there any experience where you couldn't do that because you were one step slow? In fact, the most important thing in soccer is the dash, which runs a short distance of 5 to 10 meters. But that doesn't mean sprints that run more than 20 to 30 meters are not used or needed in football. Statistically, in soccer, sprinting consists of a distance of 9 to 27 meters, occurs every 45 to 90 seconds, and a total of 730 to 910 meters per game is said to be sprinting. In fact, as a result of analyzing the 429 goals in the second half of the 7/8 Bundesliga season, both scorers and assistants were reported to have made the most straight sprint-type movements. In the case of the scorer's straight sprint, 75% of the scorers scored with their last shot after the sprint without a blush, and 64% of the helpers produced help after the straight sprint. I have also seen a video of Sun Woo-myung, who raised Sun Heung-min, emphasizing the striker's sprint. It is already a famous anecdote that Japan's Mitoma athlete was taught to run short distances by an Olympic runner. In addition, I understand that Korean youth and youth elite soccer players are interested in track and field lessons as well as soccer lessons recently. So today, we're going to talk about an explosive speed training method in track and field that can be applied to other sports as well as soccer players who usually come to my channel. Specifically, I will talk about the mechanisms of a good sprint, training methods and reinforcement exercises, and precautions. The most important thing is not to watch this video, but to watch it and copy it, and I recommend you try it. Do it at home for a while. Watching a video does not improve your speed. Sprint performance elements. What are some factors that influence sprinting? The most well-known components of track and field are shown in this table. First, the speed of the sprint is determined by the length of the stride and the frequency of the stride, the number of stride per unit time. In order to speed up the sprint, one or both must be improved, and optimization of both factors must be achieved. In general, the length of the stride is affected by muscle strength, and the frequency of the stride is affected by coordination and muscle contraction speed. So sprint-enhancing training methods can improve muscle strength with weight training and plyometric training, and muscle contraction speed with plyometric training. In addition, the technique of sprint can be summarized as various reinforcement exercises and skip exercises. Coordination can be coordinated. Specific endurance can be typically interval training, and flexibility can be summarized as stretching training. Today, among many training methods, we will focus on plyometric training that affects muscle strength and muscle contraction speed, and assistance and reinforcement exercises of various land skips that can improve sprint skills. A good posture of sprinting. A good sprint technique should minimize the dispersion of force and efficiently promote arm movements. And the coordination of the legs, the upper body, and the whole body is good. There are 4 main characteristics of these excellent running movements. First, the ground angle of the leg lands close to the vertical and close to the vertical lower part of the body center. This is because the larger the ground angle you see, the greater the force that hinders the forward propulsion during the sprint, the greater the brake action. Second, the moment you kick on the ground and leave, your legs are straightened. Of course, as soon as you kick the ground, your legs must be straightened so that you can use your strong ground reaction force as your abdominal muscles and quadriceps contract as much as possible. Third, in the early phase of returning the leg that kicked the ground, the knee folds a lot. The reason is that you need to understand rotational motion a little bit. If you don't like complications, we recommend skipping for 20 seconds. First of all, inertia is about maintaining the current state of motion. So a typical linear motion has a large mass and a large inertia. So it's hard to move heavy objects that are stationary, and it's hard to stop heavy objects that are moving. So mass is synonymous with large inertia. But in rotational motion, in addition to mass, the concept of inertial moment is added, so that the closer the center of mass is to the axis of rotation, the smaller the inertial moment. In other words, a smaller moment of inertia makes it easier to rotate in rotational motion. It's like it's easy to move light objects. So if you look at the movement of turning the leg back as a rotational movement centered on the hip joint, you can rotate faster by folding a lot of your knees and reducing the moment of inertia. In short, in track and field, when you turn your legs back, you fold your feet as much as you can and put them close to your hips to return them are called drives. I'm sure you'll have a very good sprint position if you just understand and master this drive. And most of the skip, assistance, and reinforcement actions introduced later in this video are exercises that help complement and develop the drive. Fourth, the femur goes up a lot to the anterior upper body. The reason is that you can put your legs far forward. Fast knee lifting allows the back of the thigh and hip muscles to contract, and allows the swinging leg to quickly go down in the step of putting the foot forward. In addition, raise your elbows and shake your arms back in a straight line to strengthen the propulsion of your support and swing legs, and ensure that the center of gravity is well transferred to an effective propulsion motion. In my opinion, the better the runner, the better the arm swing. As you can see now, you can lightly clench your fist or relax your arms, and the angle between the forearm and the upper arm should be 90 degrees, and the arm should be struck so that the upper arm is 90 degrees, both forward and backward. However, if you actually try it, it is quite difficult to make 90 degrees by hitting your arm back while running, and there are many people who do not hit their arms back even if they hit their arms a lot in the future. Therefore, it is important to consciously swing backward in arm swing. Common mistakes in arm movements include swinging the arm only with the lower arm instead of the shoulder movement by fixing the upper arm, the arm crossing the center line of the body, inappropriate arm swing distance, and most importantly, forward movement rather than backward movement of the arm. The distance problem with arm swing is that you don't raise your hand too much during backswing, up to shoulder height, and send your hand back enough. And I really like the part in the short range competition PDF provided by the Korea Athletics Federation, so I'll read it as it is. Many leaders have thought that the ability to quickly extend, push, the legs back in the rear support phase is a key factor that greatly affects the speed of speed. It is indisputable that the importance of hitting and the fast and powerful push of the leg at the accelerating stage are important. However, according to recent research, the importance of leg push movements rather decreases as the athlete reaches the top speed. On the other hand, the movement of the hip extending toward the front is more emphasized, and this extension of the hip occurs as a reaction by moving the thigh downward when the foot touches the ground and scratching the ground with the foot. Movements such as scratching the ground with your feet at top speed are the absolute key to determining improvements in sprinting skills. In the end, I think the main muscle that affects movements like scratching the ground with your feet here is the femoral biceps. Pitch, skip type of assistance, reinforcement exercises. From now on, it's a kind of assistance and reinforcement exercise that runners mainly do. Runners train the sport almost like a daily warm-up routine. It's a very old track and field training method that's historically old to maximize the characteristics of the good sprint positions that I've. It's very difficult to fix your posture on your own while running, so you can change the sprint posture more efficiently by learning the different pitches and skip movements that maximize the characteristics of each stage of the sprint. High pitch. It's the most representative land reinforcement movement. I think high pitch is the best training for creating a good sprint position. High pitch is effective in understanding and correcting the movement of kicking the ground and raising the knee of the opposite foot. As you can see now, the key to the knee is to raise the femur to nearly 90 degrees. Also, it is very good to correct the movement of the arm swing in connection with the arm swing. The stronger you hit your arm swing back, the easier you can feel your knees come up as a reaction. A fine-haired pitch. The fine-haired pitch is a motion known to improve bobbiness. It's a movement that can develop how fast you move your feet. This has to do with agility rather than quickness, where muscle contraction speed and neurotransmission speed can develop into two improvements. Short pitch. Short pitch is a motion that increases the pitch frequency instead of raising the knee less than high pitch. Back pitch, Bert kicker. Movements like scratching the ground with your foot at the top speed are the absolute key to determining the improvement of sprinting skills. Back pitch said earlier, and in the drive, it is the movement that helps you speed up the rotation by sticking your feet closest to your hips. A straight pitch. A straight pitch is a pitch that moves forward like a kick with your knees straight. It's a pitch where you step on the ground and bounce off the front of your feet. Walking skip. Walking skip is a skip movement that you do while walking. Just as skip means skip, except for walking skip, everyone jumps while walking. So it's relatively easy for those who are learning skip movements for the first time. Because it is an easy move, it also helps to correct basic postures such as lifting your knees high and hitting your arms accurately. Skip A. This is the most basic skip action. The point of skip A is to raise the knee until the thigh reaches 90 degrees. Similar to high pitch, it reinforces the movement to raise the knee well during sprinting. It is similar to high pitch, but a skip performs a skip with small support feet, so the rhythm and tempo are different and the plyometric effect can be seen. Skip B. Skip B is a form developed from skip A. The rhythm is the same, but you should stretch your feet forward with your knees raised, and immediately wrap your legs inward again to touch the ground below the center of gravity line. Like skip A, it's the most basic form of skip, so you have to master it. One-foot drive skip. It's easy to follow a one-foot drive skip if you think one foot drives bigger than a normal sprint and the other foot comes with the foot you're driving. Personally, I think I had a vague understanding of sprints and drives as I learned this movement as a child. That's how much you can understand the drive. One-foot high knee skip. It's a one-legged skip. As is the case with all skip moves, the foot supporting the leg that raises the knee should continue to do small skip moves. Since you use your feet one by one, you can focus on each step. Foreground position departure. Sprint can be broadly divided into a start acceleration section and a sprint section. The foreground position refers to the body tilting forward in this acceleration section, and in the acceleration section, the body tilts forward and pushes the ground backward. And when you reach speeds above a certain level, the foreground of the body is almost gone and the upper body is set up. The start from this foreground position is a movement that you can intentionally experience the start from a deep foreground position, and focus on changing the foreground position to acceleration in the acceleration section and raising your upper body to lead to the sprint section. Principles of plyometrics. Before I introduce the detailed plyometry movement, which is the core of today, I will give you the purpose and principle of the plyometry movement as simple as possible. If you don't have time, you can move on, but I think knowing the principles and exercising can further maximize the effectiveness of the plyometry exercise and can be transformed into other exercises other than the exercise I introduce. The purpose of plyometrics exercise is to strengthen the strength of continuous movements and to functionally strengthen muscles and ligaments, using renal reflexes and natural elastic elements of muscles and ligaments. So plyometric training increases muscle power production. Increasing muscle power production affects jump performance, short-range record, and increased muscle strength. In addition, the training of plyometry improves athletes' ability to slow down, accelerate, and change direction, and the athlete's running economy, improved distance per oxygen consumption. Source: the essence of personal training. I feel like I've become a drug dealer because I've only said good things about plyometric training, but you can trust it because it's actually a comprehensive reference to data, various research results, papers, and related books. Plyometrics training refers to muscle activity that immediately shortens the powerful muscle length after the length of the muscle increases. As you can see, muscles contract and pull the tendons, guns, attached to the bones to enable physical movement. But if you increase the length of the muscles before they contract, you will have additional renal reflexes in the vicinity. Here, kidney reflex is not something that we do, like all reflections in our body, but an involuntary response of the human body. So we're not doing it because we want to do it, but if the muscle stretches too quickly, it responds to it and contracts the length of the muscle. That's when the reflexive muscle activity increases, and this reflexive response increases the main muscle activity. This increases the total strength production. Plyometric training is explained by the model called the extension shortening cycle. If you look at the following table, it is preceded in the order of elongation: main muscle elongation, longer length; amortivation, delay time between elongation and shortening main muscle fiber contraction. If shortening contraction does not occur immediately after extensional contraction, if the extensional stage is too long, or if the joint movement is too large, the stored energy is unnecessarily wasted or lost to heat, resulting in no effective plyometrics. Source: Standard. Recent research shows that doing plyometrics training twice a week has the greatest effect on jumping ability, jump contact time, maximum shortening and visibility shrinkage, and 20 meters power sprint time reduction. It takes about 60 to 120 seconds to recover perfectly or close to perfection between sets. And between every plyometry training, 48 to 72 hours of recovery is required. Plyometrics training. Jump plyometrics, knees, front, V, back. It's the best way to use the principle of plyometrics training. In fact, it is the training that I think is most effective in generating the power needed for explosive speed improvement. To maximize the effect of plyometrics, it is important to jump as soon as you land on the ground. The first posture has a great effect on the movement of the femur to the anterior upper body during the running recovery period by attaching the knee to the chest. In addition, there are forward foot posture, leg spreading, and backward posture. Basically, all of these movements are used as the main muscles of the femoral quadriceps, nasogastric muscles, flounder muscles, glutes, medial glutes, and hip flexors, and abdominal muscles, spinal standing muscles, hamstrings, and triangular muscles. In summary, almost all parts of the lower body, core muscles, and some upper body muscles are used. In particular, the areas where the plyometrics effect is maximized can be seen as the quadriceps of the femur and the nasogastric muscles. In addition, the backward jump will use additional glutes and hamstrings. The advantage of this exercise is that you can do it without tools with your body and it works best, but the disadvantage is that you have a high risk of injury, so you need warm-up exercises, soft places, and cushioned sneakers that can warm your body enough. Jump squats. Jump squats, as is widely known, have a significant impact on the development of the glutes, hamstrings, and quadriceps. But in general, squats develop the muscles that I mentioned earlier with weights, so weight is a load. But what we're pursuing now is to do it easily on the field without tools. So jumping helps increase the load more than weight. Also, I think it's better to jump squat with your bare body to prevent injury because it's not as heavy as weight. Crucially, jumping squats are different from standard plyometry training, but the length of muscles increases the moment the body lands on the ground and jumps using the elasticity of muscles. So the principle of plyometry using muscle elasticity and the nearby spine remains the same. So jump squats are effective. However, I would like to emphasize once again that all plyometry training is a training that uses a defense mechanism of the proximal spine that prevents extension reflexes, or muscle from instantaneous stretching, so it is recommended to warm your body enough. Also, control of the knee when landing is key to preventing injury. It lands gently and quietly, absorbing the power of landing into the ankles, knees and hips. Keep your knees above your feet and be careful not to collapse inside. You should not land on stiff legs when you go down from jumping, and if you land on stiff legs, the tibia moves forward and stresses the anterior cruciate ligament, increasing the likelihood of injury. Jump lunge. Like lunges and squats, it is known to have a lot of influence on the development of the gluteus maximus, hamstrings, deuterian biceps, and femoral quadriceps. But the difference from squats is that they take turns one step at a time without being loaded on both feet. And squats are easy to balance because they are both feet. But in the case of jump lunges, it can be difficult to balance at first. Likewise, focus on keeping the front knee not bending inward and keeping it above your feet and not going over your toes. Also, make sure your knees don't shake from side to side. A one-legged lunge high knee drill. It is similar to a jump lunge. However, it is different in that you start with your knees held high while jumping, and if you actually try it, you can jump with all your weight on your front bent leg, so your front leg has a lot of load. Speed skater lunge. Jump a little on one foot and do lunges while landing. Balance completely with one foot and repeat the action. The speed skater lunge is a full body exercise. This is because the legs push the lateral lunge and the core stabilizes the torso during leaps, body work and landing, and balances the arms and shoulders. It is known to improve side quickness and agility. The main sinus muscle is also the aorta, medial sinus muscle, quadriceps femoral muscle, and the secondary muscle is the spinal standing muscle and hamstring. Ankle jumping. Jump with only the strength of your ankles with your feet together and your knees bent. As with all plyometric movements, it is important to jump as soon as it touches the ground. The main muscles are the nasogastric and flounder muscles. It's a way to intensively train only non-abdominal and brachial muscles. Single-legged binding. One-legged bouncing is jumping on one foot and jumping quickly again when it touches the ground. It is characterized by a quick drive and landing, especially in aerial motion. Stand upright on both legs and jump only with ankle strength, helping the last kick just before going to the airlift, utilizing only the elasticity of the non-abdominal muscles by minimizing arm swing and maximizing training effect. The main sinus muscles are the femoral quadriceps, non-abdominal muscles, and the secondary muscles are the hamstrings and glutes. Additionally, drive behavior results in stronger bounding and results in stronger plyometry effects. Outro. Today, we learned how to train for explosive speed improvement. What do you think? Although it may seem easy, in reality, it is a fairly high risk of injury, so I recommend that you warm up enough and do it on the soft grass or track. And the most important thing is not to watch this video, but to watch it and try to copy it yourself at least once. I recommend you to try it. Then, I hope you train safely and get faster by just one step. Thank you for watching the long video. Have a happy day.